Hi everyone, Heather here with PersephoneReturns.com, and I am back with your forecast for all 12 signs for the full moon that's happening in Virgo tomorrow on March 1st of 2018. And this is going to be a very powerful new or full moon, especially for those of us who have been really affected by all of the Piscean energy that's going on right now. Even though the new moon this month was actually in the sign of Aquarius, in the end degrees of Aquarius, we've been having a lot of Pisces going on right now. It is Pisces season, and we have the sun, we have Neptune in Pisces, we have Venus, Mercury, and of course Chiron, which has been in Pisces for quite some time and is actually moving into the sign of Aries next month in April. And for those of you who are interested, I actually did do a video with Robert Phoenix. I interviewed him about Chiron and Aries and what it's going to be bringing on a social level. And that video is up on YouTube on Astrology's channel. It's gotten some sort of controversial feedback, I guess. It's been a little polarizing, but you know, interviews with him sometimes are. And so if you're interested in knowing what's going to be happening, though, I highly recommend it. He has a lot of really good insight into Chiron in particular. He's the one that taught me how to interpret Chiron in the chart. And, you know, usually these interpretations are highly accurate and very helpful for people. So if anyone's going to be doing Chiron, he's the guy to do it. And so anyway, so today we're going to be talking about the full moon, which is happening in the sign of Virgo, which is my sun sign. And so this is a very Virgoan full moon. Virgo is all about practicality, organization, details, reality, right? And so this is going to be a huge reality check for a lot of people. If you've been swimming in the Piscean waters, if you've been escaping through drugs, alcohol, fantasy, delusion, right? If you've been lying to yourself, if you've been having those rose-colored glasses, if you've been spiritually bypassing the real work that we need to be doing out in the world right now, now is the time when that is going to show up and it's going to be in your face, and we're not going to be able to avoid looking at the truth and the practical reality of everything that's going on. And so I do think that this is a very needed full moon energy with all of this sort of Piscean you know, confusing, watery, foggy, mystical, magical energy, which can be very nice for some people and very difficult for others. I personally find that for most people, especially, you know, if you're not very Neptunian, this is a very difficult energy because it causes us to lose touch with reality, right? When we're talking about Pisces, when we're talking about Neptune, we're talking about everything beyond physicality. And so it causes us to lose touch with what's really going on, right? The cold, hard reality, that practical reality, that analytical, rational mindset that the opposition brings in, right? Which is Virgo. And so right now, it's not about completely negating the fantastical, the magical, the mystical. It's not about negating and, you know, leaving behind our ideals. It's just about bringing in some of that Virgoan energy, right? Some of that practical energy, some of that more rational, realistic energy, and taking a cold, hard look at what's been going on here in our own lives, right, in different areas. And I'm going to get to that as I get to each of the signs. And so this is going to be a very, I think, beneficial energy for most. We do have, you know, a nice little sextile from Saturn to the sun and Neptune, which are in a conjunction for this full moon as well, which is in opposition to the moon. Obviously, that's what a full moon is for those who are not aware. It's a moon opposition to the sun. The sun in this context of this full moon is actually in a conjunction with Neptune, so it's a very watery Neptunian energy going on right now. It's been going on for a couple of weeks. A lot of you have been feeling it. I've gotten a lot of comments from people saying that they've been way more emotional than normal, and they've been reacting very emotionally to things, even though everything's feeling like it's okay. All of a sudden, something will, you know, set them off, and they'll be like overly emoting over, you know, someone else, especially when it's somebody else's problems, right? That's part of the Piscean nature. It's deeply compassionate, deeply empathetic, and it sort of merges your energy with the energy of other people. So you feel much more deeply for other people and for their, you know, their issues and their traumas, you know, and their wounds. And so this energy can be difficult for people, especially for people who don't have their feet on solid ground. And apparently I'm one of those people because I've been feeling that too, right? I have Neptune right in opposition to my sun as part of this stellium right now. And so if you're feeling that way, I'm with you. I'm, you know, for the most part, I've been very happy. Everything's going really, really great. But I watch a video of something sad going on in the world or something, and, you know, normally that doesn't make me tear up or feel, you know, anything that much about it. And I've been tearing up over these things, right? Which is so not me. So there's a lot of watery emotional energy going on right now. And if you are someone who has a really strong Neptune connection right now with the transits that are going on, if you have your sun, moon rising at between 12 and 15 degrees in the signs of Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, and Sagittarius, you're going to be feeling this more so than other people. And so that's going to be, sort of what's going on here in terms of the general astrology. But getting back to this full moon, because I only have a short amount of time, the reason that I didn't do my broadcast on Saturday like I normally do is because I've way overbooked myself with readings, and so I was just too exhausted. I had too much to do, so I wasn't able to get to it. But I will be back next Saturday too. And in the meantime, if you do want to book a reading, I am getting caught up, so you can absolutely do so at the link in the description of this video below. I love doing readings for you guys. I added a whole bunch of new reading options as well, so you can have very specific focused readings on career, love, relationships, whatever it is that you want. I also do single question readings if you want to just ask a specific question and get a very specific but detailed answer, or just a general astrology reading. I love doing those the most, helping people to figure themselves out and to work on themselves in that way. But anyway, so moving on to the forecast for all 12 signs. So I'm going to start, of course, with Aries, because that's where we always start. And so for Aries, the energy has been a little bit, I think, difficult for Aries people just because it's all been in the 12th house. And Aries is a very physical, fiery sign. It's about initiation. It's about physicality. It's about acting on your willpower. And so there's been a lot of energy concentrated in the 12th house, right, which is the house of Pisces. And so it's been calling a lot of Aries and Aries rising people to go inward, to spend time in contemplation and solitude, to, do some more spiritual seeking, spiritual work, those types of things, right? It's also been enhancing dreams and prophetic dreams and getting messages, downloads through your dreams. Lucid dreaming can be really common when you have this much energy in the 12th house like this, especially with the sun, because it illuminates and makes you conscious within the dream world, right? The 12th house is dreams. And so, it's been a really strong energy pulling Aries people sort of out of reality, to take a break, to take a break from dealing with the practical reality of everything that's going on right now. And this is actually a week, and especially tomorrow, where you're going to be coming into a place where you need to focus more on your work. You need to come back to reality. If you've been escaping your job, if you've been escaping your daily, responsibilities, now is a time when you have to focus more on that. And so you're going to be working really hard. I think this week you're going to have a lot of really great new plans because you took that time out, right? So it's going to be new plans, new routines. It's focusing on the health, on the body, on nutrition, and also on your day-to-day routines, your day-to-day work experience, your relationships with your coworkers. All of these things can be very beneficial at this time, but they're going to help you to see yourself a little bit more realistically too. And they're going to pull you out of that 12th house Piscean sort of mystical, magical state, and you're going to have to focus more on getting down to business. And so that's for Aries and for Aries rising. For Taurus and for Taurus rising, this full moon energy is happening in your 11th and in your 5th. And this is especially for Taurus rising. I always, suggest that you listen to your rising sign primarily, and then you can listen to your sun sign too. And that gives, a good amount of accuracy as well. If you want to listen for your moon, especially because this is a full moon forecast, that's cool too. And for Taurus people in particular, especially if you have your sun, moon rising at 11 degrees or near 11 degrees. So I would say anywhere from 9 to like 14 degrees in, the sign of Taurus or Scorpio, which we'll get to, you're going to be having a lot of really great benefits. So if you have your sun, moon rising, or any personal planets at the middle degrees of Taurus or Scorpio, you're going to be having a lot of great changes and a lot of great benefits from this full moon energy, especially if it's your rising sign that's in Taurus, because this is forming a mystic rectangle. This full moon, it's forming a mystic rectangle with your rising sign and your descendant sign. And so this is going to bring a lot of really great changes that are coming through your friends, your social networks, coming through your passions, the things that you love to do, right? It's coming through your children, if you have any, coming through play, coming through focusing on your own creative self-expression out in the world, and the things that you want to do, getting back to reality in that area. If you've been bogged down by, confusing situations with your friends, with your social networks, where you've had to sort of allow yourself to become more discerning in that area, you're going to be able to see things a lot more clearly right now. So if you've been, dealing with deception, if you've had the rose-colored glasses on when it comes to new friendships that have been forming recently, now is the time when you're going to see things more clearly for what they really are. And this is actually going to bring a lot of great benefits to you in terms of your relationships, because it'll be in a trine and sextile with your descendant, and it's going to bring a lot of great benefits to you personally. You'll feel a lot better, a lot more charismatic. It can bring, really great change into your life in a lot of different areas. Again, it's more focused on relationships, friendships, play, creativity, these types of things. But, it can really come about in a lot of different ways. So if you've been working, if you've been doing the work and putting in the effort right now, you can reap a lot of the rewards for the efforts that you've been putting in these areas of your life. And so yeah, this is a really great time for Taurus, for relationships, for coming back into balance in those areas, for romance too, because this is, of course, in the 5th house. Virgo is not the most romantic sign in the 5th house. It expresses romance through service, right? Virgo is the sign of service. And so, you can come into a place in relationship where you're helping someone else out or they're helping you out. You can get a lot of great benefits in that way. But this is a very romantic full moon. It can bring romance. It can bring, I wouldn't say a major love unless there's something else going on there, but it can bring love. It can enhance your relationships and enhance your passion and excitement in your relationships as well. And you'll feel a lot better with this full moon if you've been feeling sort of, foggy and watery and all of that too. And especially if you've had, again, the Taurus rising sign or any sun, moon, or rising or personal planets around 11 degrees in Taurus, this is going to affect you more so. Okay. And then for Gemini and Gemini rising, this full moon energy is actually happening in your 4th house of the home and family. So it might have been that you've been focusing a lot on work, right? On your career and public reputation. And there could have been a lot of confusion, delusion even, in this area where you see things really idealistically. You want things to be a certain way and maybe they didn't turn out, or maybe you relied on some sort of authority figure outside of yourself and they turned out to not be what they seem. But in any case, there's been a lot of really beautiful energy going on, mostly beautiful energy going on that enhances your creativity, your intuition, your sort of idealism when it comes to your career and your public reputation. And with, Mercury being there as well, the sun being there, there's been a lot of focus on career growth and your work, right? So you might have been, even though it's in Pisces, you might have been working a little bit harder. And so now it's time to shift your focus and to reintegrate the home, the family, that energy. So this full moon is about taking care of practical business when it comes to your family, when it comes to your home, spending time at home, spending time in your comfort zones. This could be about property or something coming to fruition with property. If you've been working really hard, to earn money to buy some sort of, land or property or something like that, things like that can come up as well. But really this is about integrating your focus on the home and family and seeing things much more clearly and much more practically when it comes to not only your family situation, but your work situation. If anything has been foggy, if you've been kidding yourself in some sort of way, that's going to come to light this week, especially, as we come into tomorrow. For Cancer and for Cancer rising, this full moon energy is happening in your 3rd house, which is, learning new skills. It's communication. It's sort of your day-to-day communications and travel experiences, short distance travel, community. It has to do with your neighbors and the people that you surround yourself with as well. Also siblings and cousins and distant relatives. And so all of these things will be highlighted. It's what you keep close to home, but not in your home, right? That's the 3rd house. And it's learning skills that are practical that can be used on a day-to-day basis, the more rational, more logical, more communicative types of skills. And so that's coming into focus. So you've been focusing a lot on spiritual seeking, on adventure. Maybe you've been, seeking a spiritual retreat of some sort where you get sort of away from the world and spend time in contemplation, learning about different cultures and doing so for, a spiritual purposes. And so, it's been a lot of focus on your beliefs and on learning through experience and on adventure, maybe foreign travel, those types of things. And now it's bringing it back down to home. What's going on in your immediate community? How can you take what you learned up in the ninth house, which is broader, more expansive philosophies, and bring it back down to earth and bring it back down to practical reality, right? Which is the third house, which has to do with more rational, logical, linear thinking. So taking these broad philosophical concepts and making them into something that's easy to communicate and easy to actually utilize in your day-to-day experience, right? How do you take your experience and utilize it in your daily life? So that's a lot of what's sort of happening for you right now for Cancer, Cancer rising, even Cancer moon people will feel this to a certain extent, but it's about your beliefs, your mindsets, your thoughts, and there will probably be a lot of communication, I would say, for Cancer rising people and for Cancer sun people coming in this week. A lot of phone calls, text messages, emails, all of that. So you might feel more like communicating with other people, or it just might be happening anyway. Communication with siblings and, relatives and things like that can be more prominent as well. Okay. For Leo and Leo rising, there's been a lot of energy in your eighth house, which is the house of, things that disempower us and also where we have to take back our power. And so, you might have been feeling this sort of underlying sense of fear or uneasiness. That's very common with Pisces in particular and all this Neptunian energy, where it feels almost ominous, like something's about to happen and then it sort of doesn't. It's like an uneasy feeling where you don't know where it's coming from. It's very otherworldly almost. And so for, Leo rising people and Leo sun sign people, that could have been the case. It's also dealing with, issues involving debt, other people's money. So, joint finances in marriage or in other forms of partnership, even business partnership, taxes and those types of things. All of that would have been in the forefront. There could have been a lot of confusion or miscommunication in these areas. And so now you're bringing it back to the second house, right? Instead of focusing on how other people sort of hold control over your resources, instead of having fogginess and confusion about resources that are shared, it's more about coming back to reality, focusing on how you can create resources for yourself, right? Where's the money coming from and how are you making it? What are you doing in a practical sense to balance your budget, to, create a good financial future for yourself? So that's being highlighted. So anything that you've been sort of skating over, especially in terms of power struggles in relationships and things like that too, those things are going to be very much highlighted as well. So you're going to see things much more clearly when it comes to your finances, but also when it comes to, issues involving power and control. And so this could be an empowering transit for you where you learn something about the people in your life and you come back into your own power and you learn how to reassert your own will and to do things for yourself, right? Instead of relying on other people and letting them hold the power. All right. So for Virgo and for Virgo rising, this is happening in your sign. And for those who have their sun, moon rising in Virgo or in Pisces, around 11 degrees, which is where this full moon is occurring, you're going to be feeling this much more strongly. But this is some sort of culmination point, right? It's almost like a new moon energy for Virgo people as well, because it's moon conjunct the sun, which is kind of an interesting thing. Even though it's a full moon, it's kind of like a new moon. So there's some sort of reset going on in your life for all of you Virgos out there, especially if this is your sun sign. If it's your rising sign, not so much. But for Virgo sun sign people, this is like a major reset and a culmination point at the same time. So it's kind of an interesting energy, but this is where you can reset, start fresh, something really beautiful and really new can come into your life, from all the efforts that you've been putting in, from, the way that you've been acting on your own willpower, your own self-interest. If you've been focusing, especially for Virgo rising people, if you've been focusing too much on your relationships and that's been sort of confusing you, bogging you down, if you haven't been able to see your relationships quite as clearly as you might want to, which is a very common thing for Virgo risings, because you do have Pisces on the descendant, there's the tendency to wear rose-colored glasses in your relationships, where you're so loving and so compassionate in your relationship that you don't use your sort of Virgoan sense of rationality, and you don't you're not judging people in the same way that you normally do when you're enamored by them, when you love them, when you care about them very deeply. And so you can actually miss things. So that can cause you to have these moments of disillusionment. And this might be one of those moments. It's definitely possible. But for the most part, I do think this is a very, very beneficial energy when it comes to your relationships. It will have you focusing more on your own self-interest, on your own self-image, and sort of the way that you portray your energy out into the world, the way that you project your energy out into the world. and the way that you act on your willpower and your own needs, right? It's focusing on your self-interest, your own needs, if you've been focusing too much on the needs of others. And that's not just in romantic relationships, that's all close relationships, business partnerships, client relationships, right? Those types of things. It's time to reassert your own willpower to set good appropriate boundaries, which is what Saturn's helping you do from the third house, especially in romance. And also if you're an entrepreneur, if you own your own business, this could be you having to set boundaries, very literally you setting really good, really solid boundaries with your clients, right? If you work one-on-one with people. All right, for Libra and for Libra rising, this is also going to be in your 6th house and your 12th house axis. And so for you, you might have been focusing a lot on work, right? On your day-to-day routines, on your health, getting your health together, nutrition, all of these things. And so you've been focusing, which is difficult, right? For Libra rising people, because your 6th house is very nonlinear. It's non-physical. It's very watery. You need to be able to kind of go with the flow. And so, this energy has caused you to really focus on your routines and your day-to-day experience, and maybe incorporating some form of rest or retreat into your day-to-day routines and day-to-day experience, where you're taking more time out for yourself in meditation and contemplation to better your health, right? To keep yourself more on track on a day-to-day basis. It's also focusing on your work, right? And so with Virgo, with the full moon being in Virgo in your 12th house, now's the time to, I guess, rest, right? So if you've been focusing on working really hard towards some sort of goal, if you've been working really hard on, establishing better routines, usually when you have a lot of energy in your 6th house, you're just very busy. And so if that has been the case for you, now's a time when you can get a little bit of a break, you can get a little bit of a rest, and you can see different dynamics in terms of your workspace, your coworkers, your daily routines, what's sort of bogging you down in terms of your health routines and what you're doing to yourself, but you can't see clearly. You'll be able to see that much more clearly now. All right, for Scorpio and for Scorpio rising, this full moon energy is happening in your 11th house. And for Scorpios, that's another sign where this will be forming a mystic rectangle with your ascendant and descendant. If you are a Scorpio rising in particular, and you have your rising sign near 11 degrees in the sign of Scorpio. And so this is a time when you can get a lot of really great benefits through romance, through play, through creativity, right? Through creative self-expression. There's been a lot of energy around creativity and creative self-expression for Scorpio rising people. And if you feel like you were uncertain about what direction to take in that area, how to, start your new project, start your new hobby, start your new interest, how to take what you want to create and put it out into the world, now's the time when you're going to be able to see that much more clearly. This is also a time when really great benefits can come to you through relationships, partnerships, contracts. And with the full moon being in your 11th house, this is highlighting your need to have a core group, right? A group of people, friends, networking. I know that my Scorpio rising sign is at 11 degrees. And this whole, the past few days, I've been making a lot of new friends. I've been reconnecting with old ones when I've been really working really hard and focusing on, creative projects and things like that. And I've been getting back into, okay, well, now I need to get back into my friendships. I need to meet people, I need to be around people. And so a lot of great benefits are already starting to show up because of this. Also partnering up with people on projects is going to be very beneficial. I don't know if Amy's watching this, but I'm doing, for this specific reason, I'm doing a collaboration with Amy tomorrow on Astrology's channel. She's one of the psychic readers on that channel. And she also has Scorpio rising at 11 degrees. And so this is a really beneficial day to collaborate on something with somebody else. And so that's what we'll be doing. So anyway, I just thought that was kind of interesting. I already wanted to do it, but then when we were talking about it and I looked at the astrology, I was like, this is perfect, right? This is absolutely ideal for us. And it's a creative project, right, that we're putting out into the world. But anyway, this isn't about me. In general, this is the kind of stuff that you can do with this energy, and it'll work much more to your benefit. So collaboration, partnering up, romance, again, is really important in this energy, but it's more going to be about friend relationships for Scorpio, as opposed to the opposition, which is Taurus, where it's more about romance. It'll be more about friendships and forming solid connections in terms of friends and social networks. But there is a lot of energy around romance too that can come out, and that can be very nice. For Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising, if you've been focusing a lot on the home and the family and trying to rest and take time out and spend time in solitude, spending time in your comfort zones, these types of things, there's been a lot of energy around trying to figure things out when it comes to your property, your home, your family situation. And now the energy shifted where you're going to be focusing more on your career and your public reputation. And that's going to come to the forefront of your consciousness right now. And if there's anything that's been really confusing to you in terms of making decisions for, your home, your property, again, maybe you're thinking about buying a property or moving or something, and you've been foggy and confused about what's going on in that area, that's going to be highlighted and you're going to be able to see it much more realistically. And this is also highlighting the need to work, to create these things. So to do the work out in the world in order to create the situation that you want at home. And so that's going to be a lot of the energy that's coming up for you, over the next couple of days. And it's very strong right now. And so you're going to be, pulled into focusing on your career and public reputation and what you need in those areas. And, for Capricorn and Capricorn rising, this is going to be in your 3rd and your 9th house. And so this energy is highlighting, first off, the need to get a broader perspective on things. You might have had some very confusing, very odd connections and communications over these past couple of weeks. And so now you're going to be able to see these things from a broader perspective, to see them more rationally, more logically, and to see them much more clearly. And so this will be a really great benefit to you. So instead of focusing on day-to-day communications, practical sorts of forms of communication, focusing on, skills and stuff like that, creative skills, especially in creative communication, could have been sort of at the forefront of your mind. But a lot of communication coming in. Usually when you have like this much energy in your 3rd house, it's like having to deal with bureaucracy, paperwork. You have a lot of text messages, emails, phone calls, maybe issues with extended family members, siblings that have come up. And now you're going to be able to see things from a broader perspective, maybe planning some sort of higher education, some form of long distance travel, something where you're looking at broader philosophies, the bigger picture, so you can get a better perspective on what's going on, down in your 3rd house, which is more of your day-to-day experience, right? It really colors your day-to-day life. So when you have a lot of energy in your 3rd house, your day-to-day experience becomes a little bit more hectic. And in Pisces, it becomes very confusing, especially with this Neptunian energy. So there might have been some confusion, some mistakes in communication that came up, and you'll be able to fix those coming into this week, especially the next couple of days. And for Aquarius and Aquarius rising, this full moon energy is happening in your 8th house, which has to do with taking back your power. You've been focusing a lot on your finances. Maybe, your finances are slipping away from you, or you're unsure or uncertain about your budget for something. Maybe you just made a major decision and you're like, wow, how can I afford this, right? So you've been focusing a lot on your money, your resources, gaining resources, material possessions, those types of things. And, now it's time to focus on the opposition, which is taking back your power. This could also be taking back this could also be empowerment through getting some sort of settlement, right, from the outside, getting money coming in from the outside, through joint finances, the state, through taxes, through, lawsuits, through inheritance. That's what I'm trying to say. Those types of things. So you could actually come into some money from the outside this week if that's something that you've really been needing and focusing on and working toward. But really this is about coming back into balance and taking back your own power, not feeling disempowered because of your financial situation. If you've been feeling confused, foggy, bogged down in that area, a lot of really great benefits can come about. But first you have to change your mindset, right? You have to empower yourself to take back control of these situations. And so this is going to bring up your fears surrounding your resources, surrounding, money, and in particular, even things like sex and intimacy can come up at this time. This could actually be a very great time for deepening intimacy with other people. But most of this energy is, about coming back into your power, right? Coming back into balance when it comes to your resources, and maybe getting some of what you need from the outside when you've been feeling like you have to do it all yourself. For Pisces and Pisces rising, so this is, again, going to be in your sign, but it's highlighting the need to focus on the other, right? Because you've been focusing a lot on yourself. There's a lot of energy that's very confusing, very difficult for Pisces right now. Neptune being in Pisces can be nice for Pisces people, but it just makes you a little bit more Piscean, right? So it can cause, you to feel much more compassionate, loving, romantic, but it can also make you more prone to escapism, to fantasy, to, delusion, through, different sorts of forms of that. And so really this is more about focusing on coming back into balance through relationships, right? Practical experiences in relationships that can come up. And also this is highlighting romance. This is highlighting friendships as well, and how your friendships can help you, practical sorts of attributes to friendships that can help bring you back to reality, that can help you to act on your own self-interest, to get what you need, to get what you want. So making really strong connections in partnership is really important for Pisces right now. This can bring romance, this can bring love, but I really feel like this is more so going to bring friendship. It's also going to bring very practical sorts of friendships, right? Where you can network with these people, you can work with these people, you can collaborate with them on work-related projects, or do something that's very grounded, very down to earth, which is something that you probably need right now. So your friends are going to help bring you back down to earth. And your relationships are also going to help bring you back down to earth. So if you've been floating off in la la land, enjoying all this Piscean energy with Venus there, Mercury's there too, which can make you a little more discerning. But especially Venus and Neptune, and the sun being in Pisces, it's been very watery. It can be very fun, more mystical, more magical, less focused on the logical and linear, which is more in your wheelhouse, right? Because you're Pisces. But it's going to bring you back to reality. You're going to see things much more clearly through your relationships, through your friendships, especially coming into these next couple of days. And you probably are already feeling this too. All right. And so that is my forecast, you guys. We went through all 12 signs. And yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this, general reading. If you want to book a more specific detailed reading with me to go into your birth chart, your transits, whatever it is, feel free to either email me, that's in the description below, or, follow the link to my page for booking readings. And I will see you guys next Saturday. I set aside time. I will absolutely be doing my video as normally planned. And so yeah, I'll see you then. Have a really beautiful full moon, you guys. I think it's a good one. And so yeah, I hope you enjoy it. Bye.